Hello everyone, this is me, Dusty Circuit here, and this will really, if anything, just be an update to my previous video where I talked about my recent computer upgrades. And as of today, I have been using the been using my computer I'd say almost for about 2 weeks, though we're getting close to about a month. And so far, I'm quite pleased with this. And for those who haven't seen the previous video, I recommend you go watch it. In fact, I may link it in the description to this video. But so as a refresher, I had upgraded my computer, which prior had a Ryzen 5 2600, and I was and at the time I had my new graphics card that I had bought from Micro Center a few months prior, and I had it's because I got an unexpectedly large amount of money from my Social Security. I made the decision that I wanted to upgrade my computer, or the CPU in my computer more specifically. And while I had while I had a lot of different options to choose from, I chose the Ryzen 9 5900X. And I think in that video I explained like what my reasoning behind my decision was. And then in that video I showed the performance in Minecraft. This is the game I still play the most often, even though my Steam and Epic Games libraries have steadily been growing over the past few years. Minecraft is still by far my most played game. And therefore that's kind of what I care the most about. As for getting boosts and getting more performance, or as far as a PC upgrade is concerned. And then I addressed in that video that I was I'd say mildly concerned about the operating temps. As I knew this. I knew this processor would run hot. I knew that when I bought it, but I wasn't quite expecting to see what I saw, which was on idle, it would be around around 50 degrees Celsius, but sometimes it might dip into the mid 40s. And under kind of a light gaming load, which would be running Minecraft, I see like upper 60s or lower 70s, and in a moderate load I may see mid 70s, and in a heavy load I may see even north of 80 degrees Celsius. And although fan noise never really got to a point where never really got to a point where I would complain about until I would say that the CPU reached upper 70s, lower 80s, or I guess more like mid 80s. And though I decided to do a bit of research and like watching videos, and I found there were many ways that for you to do what's called undervolting, which is you basically lower the CPU's operating voltage in an effort to reduce operating temperatures. But in the time from when like the last time I actually dabbled into CPU overclocking, which was back when I had my FX 6300, things kind of have changed quite a lot. Like sort of back in the era the 6300 hails from. That was back when most CPUs they had a turbo boost, where if there's like a single core workload, or only a workload that uses like about half the CPU's cores, there's 2 different levels of boost. Like there's a really high one for if there's only 1 core in use, and a less high one for when more than 1 core is in use. But if all cores are in use, it goes back to its base speed. But nowadays, both AMD and Intel have technology which basically makes the CPU run as hard as it can, or like as high a frequency and as high a voltage as it can, depending on what cooler you have. So like basically like if you apply a heavy workload, the CPU will boost really high, and then as soon as the temperature spikes up, it'll pull back. And if it hits what's called T-junction, or when when the CPU gets too hot, it starts throttling down in speed. And this really at first kind of took me by surprise, but I decided that I wanted to at least make the attempts to make my computer run quieter. And I've found many different ways for you to optimize the performance and or the settings in the BIOS, but also I believe to give you lower temps while getting higher performance. And when I tried doing that, I actually noticed a boost in single core performance, but with like maybe a small hit on multi-core performance. And also and I think on average about I think I was able to get my temps down by I think about 5 to 10 degrees, and which also we made the fans noticeably quieter. But then I had ran into when I asked for what exactly I did, I think I have done a mixture of. I think at first I tried a negative core voltage offset, and then I think also I tried the curve optimizer, which is a new feature I think with the 5000 series Ryzen CPUs. And I think I also tried power limiting the CPU. And all that actually did help with temps. But then I would say a couple of days later, when I was using my computer, I ran into at least what I think is instability issues related to those settings, because when I think one day, when I was playing on Asgard, my computer shut off, and then turned back, and then started booting back up. Like I was playing, and then out of the blue, my computer turns off, but then it turns back on its own. And then another day, I actually got a blue screen of death. And by this point, I believe I set a few of the settings back to stock, and a few of the other settings I tuned a bit back. And I don't think, and I actually have not had I have not had a crash or blue screen yet, or since. But if anything, like this would be more of a temporary solution for me, because like I don't know for certain if it's totally stable. Like I would have to run stress tests for several hours, and I would have to, and also I don't know if for certain how much performance I'm giving up, and I just had, but me, like, having paid about $400 for the CPU, I really want to get like as much as I can out of it. And so my permanent solution is to buy a better cooler. And so initially when I had built this computer, I decided to carry my Hyper 212 Evo over from my previous build to this one, which did for the most part cool the CPU, but let's just say it's not really well suited for this kind of a CPU that runs this hot. And so I've and from the research I have been doing, I found I had a few different options. I could go. I believe my case will support up to a 280 millimeter liquid cooler. But I think I may have stated in my previous video that I was a little hesitant to go with the liquid cooler mainly for two reasons. One being I'm not really 100% sure about how long it would last. Yeah, because I've heard a lot of stories about not really leaking, but with liquid coolers, but more because there's some kind of contaminants in the coolant, or like some kind of degradation over time that would cause the that would cause the cooler to lose flow, or coolant flow, and then that would prevent the cooler from really doing its job of keeping the CPU cool. And maybe one which would manifest as your CPU runs way too hot even at idle. Because the heat's literally stuck in the CPU block and can't move through the loop. And then that usually isn't a problem for most coolers, but I'm more than likely gonna keep my cooler for at least 5 years, and I'm not really sure how long, if it would last that long. I mean, it probably will, but I think but there was also another reason I didn't opt for liquid cooling, and that was the case that I chose for my previous when I first got those parts. It still has two 5 1/4 inch drive bays in the front, because I still wanted to have a built-in card reader in my computer, and in addition to that, I also get more front USB ports. But as I also have a hard drive mounted in that bay, the hard drive kind of sticks out, I would say, a couple inches from that, and that would kind of make running the hoses from an AIO a little difficult. Or I think alternatively I could have put it in the front of my case. But really just for my personal reasons, and for that reason, or if it just kind of being like I would have to rearrange parts in my case, I've chosen to just get a beefier air cooler. And I chose the Noctua NH-D 15S, and it's similar to the NH-D 15, though there are two main differences. One being that the heatsink is offset, so that to give more room for the graphics card, especially on micro ATX motherboards where those tend to put the graphics card slot closer to the CPU. And also the NHD15S only has one fan, the one fan that goes in the middle of the other two heat sinks, where the NHD15 also has a fan in the front, and both being 140mm fans. And initially, I was quite concerned whether this would fit in my case, because I think I had read specs for my case in that cooler online, and they both stated my case stated that its max cooler height is 165mm, and the height of the Noctua NHD15 was also the NHD15S was also stated at 165mm. But a few YouTube videos and a few builds on PC Part Picker have restored my confidence that this cooler would fit. And then I decided to buy it, and when it arrived when it arrived, I installed it. And I would say on average, my temps are maybe 5-6 degrees cooler, which may seem like doesn't really justify the price, which is at least for that cooler, which is about $100. I would still say I'm quite happy with that result. Because if anything, the computer would run that much cooler and that much quieter. And I think even then I opted to remove my power limits I put in the BIOS, and that which allows me to get more, which allows me to basically get the stock performance out of my CPU with about the temps that I had with my previous cooler. With the CPU, I kind of dialed back. Oh, the one thing that I kind of wish I may have done differently about my CPU cooler purchase is that well, of course, after I bought this cooler, I then was reminded about, I found more videos about another cooler Noctua makes, which is the NHU12A, which really offers similar performance to the, or similar cooling to the NHD15 I bought, but in a smaller footprint. Like, it's about the same, it's really the same size, though a little bit thicker than the Hyper 212 Evo, and it also comes with 2 fans. But I would say I'm still happy about this. Although, this cooler is so big that, like, to do, like, maintenance on my computer, like, removing the fan, or, like to clean it, and also, if in the future I need to replace my thermal paste, it's quite a bit more difficult to remove the cooler, because it's so big that like I almost have no space to work in my computer. But if it keeps my CPU cooler and quieter, I don't necessarily mind that. And the one other thing that did make me nervous about my CPU purchase was that, at least those of you here on Scathe that have been in the tech channels and have kept up to speed with Alyssa's computer setup know that at one point they had two Ryzen 9 3950X CPUs die. And I think Alyssa had said that I think the first one was due to because they had a power supply malfunction. I think what it did was send the wrong voltages to the to the computer, and she possibly thinks that may have contributed to the death of that CPU. And I think it killed the motherboard as well. I'm not 100% sure. And then the next one of those CPUs she had was just defective. I think when they got it. And by that point they had just decided they didn't want to deal with issues anymore, and and I think they switched to an Intel CPU. And that actually made me quite nervous about buying this processor, but I guess I'm just gonna hope for the best here, and that at least that problem won't affect me, and my computer will be reliable and last a long time. Well, I don't know if that being the 3000 series and also an earlier sample, it probably made it more likely to be defective or have problems. And hopefully I have a good CPU. I bought a 5000 series and also a later revision. So hopefully it all goes well for me. Because I would not be too happy if that happened, if that happened to me. But again, I'll just have to hope all will go well. And if anything different happens, or I make any more changes to my computer, I will update you on that. I would say by now my computer's at a point where I'm fairly happy with it. And with the new cooler, my computer is noticeably quieter. But under heavier loads, it still gets somewhat loud. But at this point, I'm kind of I've kind of come to accept that the CPU just runs hotter just because that's by design. Like it's designed to it's designed to draw more power as long as it has the thermal headroom. And it's willing to use up that thermal headroom to perform better. And really, if anything, probably my next possible upgrades depending on how his. Oh, and then the other reason I didn't see much a point to go to get a liquid cooler is also, I've seen a video where even a 420 millimeter AAO, which is 4 or 2 or 3, which has 340 millimeter fans, I think is one of the biggest liquid coolers you can get. I've said the CPU still got up to 80 degrees Celsius under stress tests, and around 60 to 70 degrees while gaming. And but really, as far as my future upgrades, the next most likely candidate would probably be my storage, because I'd like to be able to keep more of my games installed. Because when I have to uninstall games, I have to. Whenever I want to play a game that I don't have installed, I have to download it, and we have pretty slow internet. And not only that, my sister gets lower internet speeds if I download things. So I just have to kind of be careful what time I do that. And so if anything, I might look for upgrading my storage. And depending on what games I play in the future, possibly a midterm graphics card upgrade. And depending on what graphics card I upgrade to, possibly a new power supply. And I don't necessarily have to, but possibly a new case as well. Really, if anything, just to get optimal airflow. But other than that, I am quite pleased with this computer. And I plan to keep it at least 5 years, if not longer. Or at least before I upgrade the CPU again, that is. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to keep up to speed with all my latest content, be sure to slam that bell to get notifications. Peace out.